Everybody. This is day 1000. And I'm sorry I'm coming on late again. Oh my God, it's so late. Um, I need to come on earlier, but it just cannot be helped. Thank you so much. So I will just do the live since it is so late and get it out there. There's so much information on this 1,728 days since Richard was in the line of duty, murdered, forcibly removed from the barracks. Why? Why was he forcibly removed? Why was he retaliated against? They used UCMJ against him and couldn't find anything. He was sparkling clean, sparkling clean. They cannot, find anything. We kept on asking, what did he do wrong? Well, he was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower for the cartel tied trafficking on Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss, and this is not speculative. This is not, alleging. This is from hard evidence that has already been revealed in congressional hearings, that has been revealed in witness testimony, that Fort Bliss was engaged in criminal trafficking, and and the highest, some of the highest, you're talking about, and I've named names, General John Kelly, um, um, Mealy, McConville, Garrett. I'm trying to think of all the four-star generals. Those are the four-star generals. Um, and then, of course, Sean Bernabe, a three-star general. And of course, they had to have the IG, or the provost marshal, Donna Martin. She's, I would say, she has blood on her hands. She has blood on her hands, and what she did, it's not speculative. We lived it. We saw it, and it was so bad. And this is brought forth so many breaches that cost so many lives. When I think about all the lives lost, and I meant to today, but it's been so busy with all of the aftermath of the sentencing, or the plea deal and sentencing, and the impact remarks from the Patrick Crucius, the Walmart mass shooting case. That was absolutely a circus. It was absolutely made a farce out of our judicial system, out of our courtroom, out of our judges. It was really, really despicable, and it really corroborated and confirmed that our Department of Justice is off the rails, that they are off the rails, that there needs to be an overhaul, that they have weaponized the system for their own personal gain at the expense of people's lives, for foreign or domestic enemies of this country. Okay? I want to make that very, very clear. For foreign or domestic enemies of this country. Because when you carry out what Judge San Madrano did, a circus, a farce, give me the right words, because a staged, I'm not hearing one good thing. Not one good thing, like, oh, Didn't he do such a good job? No, everybody is absolutely fuming. It's brutal. It is brutal. And it is absolutely the truth because the evidence, the video, the whole five over, almost 6 years now, um, is evidence upon evidence of what everyone is saying, not just me, about how ridiculous, how disgusting this, how this ended without any evidence being presented to the judge not even asking for any evidence, not even evidence of competency from Patrick Crucius, just asking him, hey, broken brain, are you competent? Oh, yeah. Um, it is the most ridiculous farce. And that has cost millions and millions of dollars. They need to pay restitution. They need to give that money back and then some on top of it. I'm serious. This is taxpayers' money. The property taxes go up and up and up, right? And then it is, and people in El Paso might not know this, but it is Joe Spencer's law firm that makes sure that you pay taxes. If you don't want to pay taxes, he's the one that comes after you to make sure that he got the contract for that, to make sure that you pay the taxes for his ridiculous defense, for his open checkbook, ridiculous, broken brain, surrender twice, and Patrick Crucius, right? Patrick Crucius, his client, and the biggest related to the Mayellas, which is so bad because the Mayellas are in the federal courthouse. They are Judge Guadarrama. They manage Judge Guadarrama. They manage those cases. And Mayella's son is in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza, Mr. Trained Hacker, Mr. Cybersecurity, is in the DA's office with James 2028 stamp Montoya. So you have Jaime. I think he's like cartel friendly. Jaime, Mr. Conflict of Interest, Mr. Yeah, I'll stay on the case for almost 2 years, even though my sister was there. And this is personal to me because that open checkbook looks pretty good. And we have our golf dates, we have our social club time that that all has to be paid for. And absolutely he knows Joe Spencer. um the I play golf. Okay, I play golf. That's how, matter of fact, that's how first date, well, I don't think it was first date, second date with Rob that we went on. um we went golfing. We went golfing in Temple, Texas. Matter of fact, in Temple, Texas. Um, and so, you know, I understand. I understand it's really nice to get away and golf. Look at our President Trump, he's a scratch golfer, right? He's a scratch golfer. He's a wonderful golfer. Um, and I understand it is so beautiful and peaceful out on the golf course, but it's private too. It's private, meaning you can actually have a conversation out without, maybe some kind of devices picking up your voice or whatever. So it is a private place and wonderful, and you see the most beautiful nature out there. So I understand. And so, if Sam um, Madrano wants to play golf with Joe Spencer and Jaime Esparza and I think someone in the federal courthouse, uh, you know, every week, if they want to do that every week, I mean, I guess they needed the open checkbook, right? But I don't think that the taxpayers are too happy with them. No, I don't think so. And they absolutely knew the Mayellas. They absolutely knew because Steven Spitzer knew the Mayellas very, very closely. He was also on the prosecuting team. So, for the federal. And, you know, absolutely they know each other. They have their Christmas parties together. They have their barbecue cookouts together. They have, they know each other. They kept this a secret that Patrick Crucius absolutely is family to the Mayellas, the inner circle of this entire, when we found this out, not too long ago. It was not too long ago. And more is coming out too that we're corroborating um more information, because they've wanted to hide so much. You think it's just about Mayella's connection with Patrick Crucius? There's even more, y'all. There's even more. And but when we were absolutely sure that Brian Blake Crucius was married to Alexis Mayella, and that um, Michael G. Mayella was working in the DA's office with James, Mr. 2028 Stamp Montoya, and Jaime Esparza, and Priscilla Mata, Anthony Aoun, huge people with connections to uh, the imposter impersonator judge, Penny Hamilton. She's not even a judge. She's a pretend judge. She's pretending to be, and she sealed the case, y'all. She sealed the case. We would like to look at the forensics report. We heard that the forensic report's not even out. That we know for sure it wasn't out 3 years after that. Normally a forensics report normally takes 72 hours, right? 72 hours. Now we have, 3 years in, there was no forensics. Now we have almost um over 5 year, is it? Yeah, almost 6 years. And where's the forensics report? Because the pictures, the evidence shows that Patrick Crucius only had 30 bullets. The pictures show he only had one clip. One clip for that weapon holds 30 bullets at the most, because who knows if 30 bullets were in that clip, in that magazine, right? And so, you know, we have a lot of questions to ask, a lot of FOIAs, a lot of accountability in this farce, um, because these same players um, are in Richard's case. Are in Richard's case. It's the same case. It's the same. I always say it's the same case because they're so intertwined. You know. So it's kind of like Siamese twins or something. They're so intertwined. And thank you, Danielle, for coming on. And but if you think about that, you have 23 people that were killed, and you have 22 that were injured. And there were some of those individuals, like Ernest Christopher Grant, who said on camera he was hit twice in the abdomen. Twice in the abdomen with that kind of Russian bullet. Um, my husband has a hard time understanding how that all happened. I guess Donna Sifford, I think it's Sifford, yeah, was the angel, I guess, because how does that happen, right? Two uh, short range hits in the abdomen with that kind of weapon, with that kind of bullet. Um, and and you're ready to go a day later, you're already um, really coherent and everything, enough to say El Paso strong, enough to say El Paso strong. I guess if you have the application for appointed counsel already stamped at 5:42 in the morning on that Sunday morning, I guess, yeah, I guess they could do anything, right? Um, that must have been some good surgery, some really good surgery. It's just nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. We have so many questions, but this um, 30 bullet question, I think is very important because from the math that I do, 23 plus 22 is 45, and 45 individuals need 45 bullets, right? Unless one bullet hits two people, but then you have some individuals that got hit twice. So you need, let's say you need at the least 60 bullets, right? At least, because these are moving targets. These are, according to Ernest Christopher Grant, things are being thrown at you, right? Then you have things going on the outside with Memo Garcia and his wife gets hit. Um, and I think another person gets hit in the car outside, and then you come in and, uh, you know, and you have to do this. You have to have these 45 hits with 60 bullets. I'm giving a little extra, right? A little extra, which is 30 more bullets than what he has. 30 more bullets than what he has. And you're doing it in less than 2 minutes, right? He has to do it in less than 2 minutes. And then we'd like forensics because we're being told that someone died over there by further away, right? So you have in the parking lot, you have in front of the Walmart, you have inside the Walmart. I mean, you're talking about 45 people, right? Um, in different locations and everything. Where's the forensics? Because Patrick Crucius, wasn't trained, and there was no puke. I think that was the right word I was looking for the other day. There was no puke because, when you study all these active shooters thing, someone like him, first time as an active mass shooter, there's puke. There's puke. So, and especially with autism and him being so sensory sensitive, and then his fine motor skills being, something to be desired, nothing makes sense. And then get this, Bill Hicks becomes the usurper. And what does he do while he's usurping? He changes the indictment. Instead of 23 capital murder cases, right, like they did in the federal case, he changes it to one capital murder of multiple individuals. Okay? He changes the indictment. And, so that just came out, right? We're like, what's going on here? Where's the indictment? Where's the sentencing? Where is Sam Madrano doing his job? He's not doing his job. He's not protecting Patrick Crucius' rights. I mean, you have all this screaming about this foreign Aragua gang member, and I hope I'm saying that right, that he has rights. Well, Patrick Crucius has rights, but then also the victims, he didn't protect the victims, right? He lets them have this physical contact. And knowing that they already had victims try to bring in a gun during one of the hearings, um, so real incompetence there from Judge San Madrano. And then, also not asking for the competency hearing or the mental evaluation results of Patrick Crucius because they didn't do it, but you need to know, especially if this person has severe autism, severe mental health conditions, that they're competent to understand, and then you're supposed and be in that trial. Even though they didn't have a trial, right? They just had a plea deal. So you know that they did not have what they wanted, because otherwise they would have been going to trial, right? And taking that open checkbook even further, going to trial. They would have fought for their position. But no, you have an individual that hasn't had a competency test, that is severely mentally, uh, it's not a handicap. He has autism. He has a severe mental health condition. He has that other schizo affective, right? And then you have him, no training, whatever, um, very little language skills. He doesn't address. He's no appeal, no appeal. There's no going to be no appeal to this, right? um, eh, which is very interesting, really telling. Everything is very telling, and Patrick Crucius doesn't address, um, and what else? What we have absorbed? As days go by, we're going to absorb more of what has just happened. Where is everybody? You have this Patrick Crucius related to Mayelas. Don't tell me that Governor Abbott doesn't know the Mayelas. Don't tell me that Ted Cruz doesn't know the Mayelas. Don't tell me that Veronica Escobar doesn't know the Mayelas. Don't tell me that Beto O'Rourke doesn't know the Mayelas. The Mayelas are in the DA. The Mayelas are in the FBI. The Mayelas are in the federal courthouse. The Mayelas are in mental health um, uh, services. They're all in the same. They're in the same taxpayer funded service per positions, right? And they're at Walmart cybersecurity, which is another jaw dropper, right? So the Mayelas are everywhere. And where is Ted Cruz? Where is Governor Abbott? Where is Veronica Escobar? Where is Beto O'Rourke? Where is Chris Cuomo? Chris Cuomo went there right away, right away. And I have a list of people that were there. Um, yeah, where's Mayo DeMargo? Okay, I know Allen is RIP. I mean, so many people have died in this too, right? So many people have died and so many changes. Where's Bill Hicks? He was there right away. Where is Bill Hicks? Was he there? Was he there? I wonder if he was there. I wonder if Ernest Christopher Grant was there. Did you see? I didn't see Ernest Christopher Grant because he's been going to the hearings. Was Donna Sifford, because they have litigation, right? They're suing Walmart. They're in that class action Walmart lawsuit. Why weren't they there? Um, you know, um, and I know Chris Cuomo went to go visit Ernest Christopher Grant, um, and that was just wow. um, yes, where was Senator Cornyn? Where was Senator Cornyn? Where was Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick? Even Ken Paxton, right? Where were they? Why weren't they at the hearing? And President Trump? Why wasn't President Trump at the hearing? He was there. Now he came later, and I know he's on his way to Rome right now. He has some really valid reasons not to be there at the hearing, since sorry, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Since they weaponized the hearing or the case, they weaponized the narrative of the case against him. totally against him. And so, people were murdered for a reason. And it's not what they say because nothing adds up. And so, our evidence that we have collected over the years, and I've been saying it for a long time, confirms that Richard's case is connected to the Walmart mass shooting case because the Walmart mass shooting was a cover up. It was used as a bloody, murderous cover up. It had to be so shocking because what was going on Fort Bliss was also so shocking. It was an audit of criminal trafficking within our military. That's what was going on Fort Bliss. And Richard was a whistleblower for that. And they used the Walmart mass shooting to divert attention from the audits, the findings of the audits. That means that President Trump has the findings of the audits. He knows exactly what was going on Fort Bliss, or at least has a good idea of what was going on with the criminal cartel tied trafficking that was going on there. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. And that's why when they arranged, when they organized, when they orchestrated, when they colluded, when they conspired together with the Mayella Crucius family, right? With the Mayella Crucius family and their friends, Jaime Esparza, Joe Spencer, Sam Medrano, Judge Guadarrama, um, James Montoya, Priscilla Mata, uh, Anthony Aoun, um, and others. Um, Penny Hamilton, right? Penny Hamilton, that's not a mistake. Veronica Escobar, Beto O'Rourke. Um, that's why they weaponized the murder of 23 people, the injuring of 22 people, into a false narrative of white supremacy, racist. That's all fake. We debunked it all. Not that, and I take that very, very seriously. But it was absolutely debunked. And they weaponized that falsely against President Trump for political gain, for personal gain, and to cover up and deflect attention away from the audits that were going on, the big news, where the fire was. The Walmart mass shooting was smoke, and Fort Bliss was the fire. And I understand 23 people were killed in that smoke. I count even Glennon Oakley Jr. So let's add that 25 because I'm adding Richard too to that. So let's add the two more, 25 and 22 injured. And I'm thinking there might be even more, like Asia Graham. But absolutely, it was absolutely horrible. But what was going on Fort Bliss was 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands. So I don't know exactly all the numbers that were, of the human trafficking and what the value of all the weapons and ammunition. Don't ever forget that Nadal Baim is an arms dealer. The Palestinian that walked into the Dollar General saying that They found Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico. It's a secret, and they were looking in many different places because he that didn't make sense to us until we learned that he had been um, dismembered. Christ have mercy on us. Um, yeah, but he was, Nadal Baim, the father-in-law of Bradford Bugado, is an arms dealer through Western Frontier Trading. And there's no other way to put it. That's what he was doing. And he's in tax violations too. So we have a lot of information on that, and it's I don't know if you want to hear it all, but the big news is the Walmart mass shooting was a deflection away from the Fort Bliss, the real big crime, billions of dollars, so many lives that it makes the Iran Contra scandal look like child's play. And that's why it took something so big and so bloody, like the Walmart mass shooting, that they were willing to do it. The Mayelas were willing to do it. So, what does that mean? Are they connected to the Fort Bliss Walmart mass shooting? I mean, the Fort Bliss cartel trafficking? Are they connected to who we know were inside Fort Bliss up to no good? Leilani Hart, Tavita Nusa, James Hart, Jonathan Ambrose, uh, Dallas Hart, Thomas Kane, Ann Ogle, of course, Sean Bernabe, of course, Clem Coward, of course, Major General Stewart, of course, Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, of course, Lieutenant General Michael Roddick, and I could go on, even with David Park, the little fish, but we're talking about the real big fish, which is a hunt. And, where are they? Where are these big players right now? And where is all the media? All the media, there should be, it should have descended onto uh, El Paso for this sentencing, asking questions. And the media is like, no wonder they're going broke. No wonder they're going broke. They are just so out of touch and of what they're supposed to be. They're so compromised. They are so compromised. They just need to close down Fort Bliss, in my opinion. That's Danielle. Yes, I absolutely believe you're right because do I believe that the Walmart mass shooting would never have happened if Fort Bliss wasn't there and they weren't doing the trafficking and being audited? Absolutely. I believe that to be true. I think that Bliss hurts El Paso. It makes it a target for the cartel activity and to organize crime into the judicial system, into the political system, and into our military, which is a national security threat. They really should close down Fort Bliss. I think you're right. Thank you, Danielle, for pointing that out. So, yeah, the comments that I'm getting back from millions of views. We have millions of views. We're headed for 4 million views for 28 days, which is amazing. because we're shadow banned and we still have that many views. And so we're headed for that. And that really is one of the reasons why coming on so late. Um, it's really about Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, and his treasonous deeds. And that's not me just saying it. I don't want to say that about Sean Bernabe, about a general in our military. I don't get any pleasure saying this kind of treason about anybody. But the evidence is overwhelming. Overwhelming that the Walmart mass shooting case was weaponized by the likes of Veronica Escobar and Beto O'Rourke and the Mayella Cruciuses and Sam Madrano and Joe Spencer and right? Absolutely. And I'm not happy to even say it. So, but um, that's what's going on. They are absolutely Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, um, has committed treason. He's a traitor. And there are people out there that don't want to face the truth of that. They don't want to look at the evidence. They don't want to understand the evidence. And they want me to do the homework for them. Right? Bring them the leads. Instead of going to the FBI, instead of going to the CID, instead of going to Sean Bernabe's command and asking them to say, what the hell happened to you on Fort Bliss and your command? What did you do in the Richard Halliday case? They want to come to me and they want to say, spill it out. Everything you found worked day in and day out. Just random people that work for Sean Bernabe. He's got the JAG, JAG's curious. The JAG was looking over my shoulder anyway for all of my notes that we were doing and Rob's notes that we were doing during the meetings. The JAG was always looking at over our shoulder and trying to give me this big folder that I needed to, I don't know, distract myself with. And I'm really insane stuff. Remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. Um, I'll never forget that um, because it was during the lockdown and I refused to put on the thing. And they gave me a shield and they were like, they had two on. They had two on and they were telling me to remember to breathe. And I'm like, okay. Um, yeah. So, y- and you're talking about an emergency situation. Um, and everyone knows what that feels like when your child is missing, right? When you know that your child has been murdered because people around you are acting insane. They're just shaking in their boots and they're not following protocol. They're not doing things right. They're covering up, covering up, covering up. And then you're retaliated against. And you're like, why am I being retaliated against? And then they say, bring me leads, bring me leads. You have to investigate for yourself. You have to investigate and bring us leads. Otherwise, we can't do anything to help you. And that was insane. But we did it. We did it. And now, I'm sure that Jag wants to know uh, all the uh, all the evidence that we've gathered. But the evidence shows that the Walmart mass shooting was used because there were audits going on Fort Bliss And it made people very, very nervous, especially the cartel and the cartel tied individuals. And that's why when you look up the background of this whole case and you find the Michael Maielas with the Cruciuses, Michael Maielas are the San Medrano golf buddies with Joe Spencer and Jaime Esparza. When you see the command getting angry because you have questions, right? Getting angry and you have solid leads and they go, well, there's nothing. We need to put this in cold case. And you have, you know, a Nadal Baim, a Palestinian uh, with tax problems that has a record for her terroristic activities, being a arms dealer that is the father-in-law with Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado. Oh, we don't see anything here. We have Leilani Hart doing a confession with confessing to the worst type of crimes against children and illegal weapons purchasing, and it's like, oh, nothing to see here. You have, you know, uh, Mayella with the crucial. There's nothing that is connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, to Danae Katzen, who targeted us. That's on the fugitive uh, list. And it's like for fraud that had Richard's credit cards, that had Richard's um, financial information. And the general is saying, oh, well, I don't think I see anything. You have Borstar having a positive hit on remains. I don't see anything, you know. Um, and I can just go on with the Mercedes car thing, everything. And that was not a cold case. It's not been a cold case. Um, and you have a I'm thinking about what I was reading earlier about Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and the actions he took that violated our house being searched without a warrant. That we're coming back to that. Um, just for the wrongful death, right? For the wrongful death. And he's absolutely a traitor. All of a sudden, Jag acts like they care. Where have any of them been? Richard Halliday was murdered. They just need to close down Fort Bliss, in my opinion. Um, absolutely. And I agree with, where are they right now? Where's the media right now? Right? They were calling us constantly when we called um, to find out what happened to our son. They were calling constantly. And where are they in the coverage of the Walmart case and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, this whole Mayella thing, right? The 30, only 30 rounds, only 30 bullets, only 30 bullets killed 20, 20, yeah, 23 people, 22 people, 45. You need at least 45 bullets. Um, you know, it's like nothing makes sense. Nothing. And and for those people to be involved in Richard's case, we have absolutely confirmed that is so. That is so. That Jaime Esparza, remember the whole thing with El Mayo and um, all of that is so connected. These same actors, Nieto in the FBI, um, the whole DA office, and they need to be held accountable. And that's why I think Governor Abbott not showing up, Ted Cruz not showing up, Veronica Escobar not showing up, Beto O'Rourke not showing up, these other politicians, these other, um, Chris Cuomo not showing up, not even mentioning. Here he was, like the one of the first, right? Um, uh, and they're not showing up for this case closure is very telling that this for them doesn't do them any good. That's how toxic this case is because it exposes the worst breaches of promises made to the people. A system, a criminal justice system that um, is broken. And it shows how they weaponize, it proves President Trump's assertions, and they're not even assertions, they confirmations that they weaponize the criminal justice system against their political enemies for their own personal gain. And that's exactly what happened here. They weaponized the system to have this Walmart mass shooting, um, terrible, terrible killings of people for their own political gain. They weaponized it for political gain and their own personal gain, and to cover up the $1 billion network of criminal trafficking on Fort Bliss. So, and that's not me saying it, that's me reporting what the evidence confirms. So, thank you so much. And, talking about all these people, um, you know, I've always said the time is short, the time is short, and the time is short. Uh, and it's getting shorter and shorter. And I think that people that know things, they should come forward because this is on a roll, on a roll. And that's why it's 1:30 in the morning here, and I'm doing a live stream. Let's see. There has not been a press release given by the Army about Richard Halliday's murder on base. They were quick to do a PSYOP press release to interfere in the search and investigation for Richard Halliday. When leadership was trying to cover up Richard's murder, in my opinion, why don't they tell the American people the truth about Richard Halliday was murdered trying to save others? 100%. 100%. And I think that time is, it's coming. We're working very hard for it. And it's because of the millions of views, the tens of thousands of shares. That is what is going to bring that about. And that is a sad reality. But they are moved by you, by you having the information, by me having the information and being able to disseminate it out. And I'm being shadow banned, and we still have millions of views because people absolutely know that this whole Walmart mass shooting stinks. And thank God that they know, because now we can say, look, what they did in Richard's case, it's the same people. They were stinky there, and they were stinky in Richard's case. And I've said it from the very beginning. And then, the more people that know, the more that we're so programmed not to ever expect any kind of accountability. Well, that's not how I'm programmed. But they tried. They tried to make you give up. They tried to say, oh, you can never go against this big green machine. You can never get accountability. It'll never happen. Look at what just happened with the Walmart case. That was absolutely not how they wanted that to end. Is it what we wanted? Um, we'll see. It's not over yet, but it's not what they wanted. That was, where was everybody? Where was this narrative, that they've really been trying to push about this hate crime? Where was that? It was so fabricated. It was so fake. It was kind of like, yeah, well, the other fake stuff we've been watching. But yeah, it's so fake. You can tell that it's orchestrated, very controlled, not letting the camera come in this time. They need to give Richard Halliday's remains to the family 100%. And that is exactly what we're working for. We want our son's remains. We want him to, for them to honor him for his heroism. Restitution for what they did to him. They need to give him back all his rank. We need a formal apology. And we need a strong, secure military for our volunteer sons and daughters, and confidence for parents to know that they are there to defend the Constitution and that there is safeguards to prevent, this was all like HRC, right? Human Resources. Human Resources allowed Dallas Hart. Why wasn't he stationed somewhere else? Why was he stationed right there with his family? Why were these people all cozy staying right there at Fort Bliss? It's so dangerous. Why was Jesus Nieto allowed to stay there with his wife? Don't forget, his wife is an intelligence on Fort Bliss. It's a human resources thing. So it really tells you that there is some really big problems here, that it doesn't end with John Kelly, that it doesn't end with Mealy, that it doesn't end with Sean Bernabe, that there's something else going on here, because they allowed these people to be set up and embed and be cartel tied and embed and into the system and into our military to create this national security hell, threat, risk, breach, what do you know, so so that they can traffic, use taxpayers' money to pay for their operations so that they can make billions in trafficking. And then when they get caught and they get audited, that they can orchestrate and organize a Walmart mass shooting, killing people international. Some people were from Mexico, some people were Americans, some people, one was from Germany. Thank you so much for saying that, Danielle. Richard Halliday deserves a hero's burial. Absolutely, 100%. So thank you so much, everyone. And I just want to know, where's everybody? And, those prominent people, they absolutely should respond. Um, we'll see. We'll see. It's really disgraceful. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back